So here we are today with Mr. Jack Lloyd because he's a real big deal in San Antonio. Yeah, as a ballroom world, right? So I'm gonna do several things, and I'm gonna see what is the best for me to cut the whole thing. But my point is, like, please let us know about your dance life, your ballroom dance life.
Oh, all right. Started when I was about 4 or 5 years old. My parents owned a couple of Arthur Murray dance franchises. I grew up dancing till I was about 8 years old, and then my parents took me out of dancing. And I didn't dance again until I was 35. I taught a lot of dancing in the military. I can't say I was totally out of it. I did know a little bit about dancing. I taught some then. Make extra money, because back then the military didn't pay that much. So I supplemented my income by teaching, and I've always loved teaching. Taught in the military, in the classroom, teaching pilots about different life systems in the aircraft, ejection seat procedural training, lots of things. Got out in 1985 out of the service and came to San Antonio and met a whole lot of people that helped me get my dancing underway, like Carol Tillich. Wish I could remember more. I'll repeat them later as I go along. But I met lots of people that helped further my career, and since then I've been trying to help others' with their careers. Training people just because I want to train them. It's what I call giving back. I've got a lot out of it. I've competed a lot, competed professionally, competed a lot with amateurs. Really love that. Boy, and that's about summed up my whole life. It is just dancing. I love to dance. I love to teach dancing. I love to compete dancing.
Are you still competing?
Yes.
Oh, how old are you, may I ask?
69.
69. Okay, that's great. So that's a pro-am, right? If I'm
Yes.
right. Okay. Stop pause here. So when I asked you for this interview, I asked you to bring a couple of pictures, and you brought a couple of interesting and exciting, really, what is this, 1979. Can you tell about this, what we're gonna doing here, and what is on the picture?
Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to preface this first before all this happened. In 1969, I went into the service, and I spent 2 years in Vietnam, and I spent some other time down in Laredo, Texas for 2 years. And then they sent me to Washington, D.C. I lasted there about 9 months, mainly because in the war, we had everybody's back. In D.C., they stick a knife in your back. So I was low man on the totem pole, and I didn't last very long. They shipped me from Washington, D.C. to Seattle, Washington. Or not Seattle, anyway, they sent me to Washington State, out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so my parents, after I'd spent 8 years in service, called me. My father had hurt his hip. My mother had broken her leg in a car accident. And they called me and asked me if I would come and run the studio for a while, until they get back on their feet. And I said, but I can't dance. We don't need you to dance. We need you to use your abilities that you learned in the service to run the studio. So I said, okay, I'll get out, but I probably want to go back in, but I'll get out for a while. So I did for 4 years. And this picture is a culmination of me after 4 years. You can tell from the hair. And I understand, my whole life I grew up with short hair. When I went in the service, I had short hair. And then you'll see in this picture, well, it was the year of the fro, and I froed out. Anyway, that's what that picture is. It's me doing disco. Love disco and competed in disco. And the pictures that you see here is me competing or taking pictures, getting ready to, or I'd won a 4-state competition. and I appeared on American Bandstand. You know, for those of you who know anything about Bandstand, been around that long, and I got to do a spotlight dance on American Bandstand. And that was my first taste of dancing professionally in front of the camera. And well, that's not true either, because at age 6, I danced with a Rosemary Baracus or something like that. We were both about 6 years old, and we danced on the very first Arthur Murray dance TV show. They haven't had it for a long time, but we were on Arthur Murray.
So it means like back in time, the Arthur Murray have their own TV show?
Oh yeah, it was nationwide. Oh yeah. And you know, that was my first taste, and everybody recognized me from then. I was sort of like this mini superhero. But I loved it. You know, it's like, oh, I got to do this. But my parents didn't want me to do it, and I got out of it. Part of the thing that I like about dancing is that you get to help people change their lives. And we really do. We change people's lives when we teach dancing. A lot of people come in for dancing because they've been beaten down. Life just beat them down, you know? And they want to do something different, fun for themselves. And you try to give that to them. You try to understand them. You don't want to try and be a psychiatrist, because I am no psychiatrist. But we try to make people feel good about themselves, and you can do that through dancing. If someone comes in, sometimes they'll just be talking to you and break down crying. Bad marriage, man or woman. I mean, sometimes women beat down on men, and sometimes men beat down on women, and they've got to get back out into life, and they use dancing. Other people come in because they want weddings, they want different things like that. They want memorable moments, and they think dancing will do that for them, and it does. Because there's a lot of people that they dance, you know, at their weddings, no matter how small or little amount that they put into it. It's at the fact that that man, and I emphasize this, that man got out on the floor with a woman and danced with her for the very first time. Maybe they did other things, but not out in front of people.
That's so true, and this is really fascinating, and I think that's exactly one of the best things in our industry, and being a dance instructor to change people's lives. But what dance changed in your life? Or what those the momentums when you recognize, oh gosh, if dance is not with me, if I'm not the dancer, I'm not gonna survive, or I'm not gonna step for the next stage or anything.
I got out of the service. I went back into the service after I helped my parents for 8 years. I went back in. So I was in 8, then I was out 4 years to help my parents, and then I went back in the service for 8 years. Then I got out because I wanted to dance professionally. I started teaching here in San Antonio when I was still in the service. I just came back from England and met up with some dance teachers here, Carol Tillich being one, and started to teach. You know, I got back into dancing, I started to teach, and I liked teaching. But what it did for me was it gave me the feeling of sharing something I love, because I love dancing. And when I could make other people feel that, I know people now that I taught 20 years ago that are still dancing. They're still out there doing it. You know, I've got friends that are still dancing. Don't take lessons anymore, haven't taken lessons for a long time, but they're still out there dancing. Because once you learn how to dance, there's no quitting. You want to dance, and that's what it did for me. I didn't want to quit. I'm still dancing at 69 and teaching because it's part of my life. It shaped me, it formed me. I did dumb things. Please, don't misunderstand. I did dumb things as a dance teacher. I won't go and elaborate into those, but there are some students out there that don't like me, some teachers out there that don't like me, but that's who I am and how I was formed, but it was all because of dance. Whether I was right or wrong, I did it for dance. Ballroom dancing. It hasn't changed. Not an iota. It's been the same since it started. The franchises, Fred Astaire, Arthur Murray, other little franchises, they were formed a lot by people like my father. My father and two other people, they set up what they call the medalist system. That was a system in which patterns were determined, and you went to school and learned these patterns. And that's been the same thing since the 40s and the 50s. The only thing that's changed is from one set of clothing, like hippies. I was a hippie for about that long. Clothing changed to that. Then it changed to frou-frou dresses for the women, then beautiful ball gowns, then feathers out the butt. You know, it's just all kinds of things, you know, just wild. Dancing's always been about having fun. And if you can't have fun doing that, you don't need to be in the business. If you're out to do this business because you think it's going to make you a lot of money, forget it. Because it goes up and it comes down. It goes with the economy. People have money to spend, they're going to dance. They don't, they're not going to dance. They're going to spend it on other things. San Antonio, for instance, we're a melting pot here. We got people from, this is a military community where people come here to retire. So they're from all over the country. We got Germans and Polish and Russians and Spanish and you name it, they're from all over the damn place. So there's so many darn things that people can do. They go just to eat food from different places in this community. I love San Antonio. It's hard to understand sometimes, but in other times it's just a fun place to be. I love it here, but it's a hard place to have a business, a dance business. So the studios that survive, the teachers that survive, are the ones that have fun doing it. You know, they teach, they have fun, the students have fun, and if the students have fun, they stay with it. If you make it work, because I went that route. I said, all competition, oh, I'm just a competition instructor. Boy, was that a mistake. People, that's where I made a few enemies, because it's a hard life when you try to be a competitor, whether it's as an amateur or a pro. And it's cost a lot of money, and it's not really that much fun unless you're winning. Well, I won a lot. I guess I can. You know, I was always placing first, second, third, top teacher, making a lot of money at competitions. My students always winning awards. We won top studio awards every time. You know, it's just almost every time. We go there, we went to win. It was battle. We were a competition team, you know, and that went on for years. I did a circuit. I went to Austin, to Houston, to Corpus, and here, all in 1 week. And I did this for 2 years and competed with all of these people. But it was work, and it wasn't fun. It was work. And I had one student kick me one time because I was so hard-assed. You know, it was fun, but it wasn't fun. And when you take fun out of dance, why are you doing it?
1, 2.
Dance styles. I love all dancing. I dance as much as I can of any other dance. Smooth, rhythm.
So wait a second. So that's true when someone asks you, like, what is your favorite dance style? Like, you as a dance instructor, that's a wrong question, because if you are a true...
It is. Because I can go to a country and western bar, which there are a lot of them, and they do country and western dancing. But there's only so many two-steps in your body. You know, you do 2 or 3 and you get bored. Well, luckily they play swing, a few polkas, things like that. But it's country and western. It's just a style. So I get easily bored. I go to a ballroom. If they don't play a variety of different ballroom music, waltz, tango, foxtrot, Viennese waltz, quick step, You name it, if they aren't playing it, I'm walking over to them and asking them why aren't they playing it. Because a lot of places they get wrapped up into playing 10,000 foxtrots, a waltz, and a tango. Or a swing and a rumba and a cha-cha and then back to foxtrots. And it just drives me up a wall. You know, it's like the world's made of more than foxtrot. You know, you want to do everything. So you want to keep me in a place, play different music. Everything, country and western, everything. People should want to learn everything they can about dancing, because they say that ballroom dances are interchangeable. You can take the steps from one and put them into other, and it's true. You know, the timing's different, the characteristic of the dance is different, but it has its own flavor. And it's that flavor. Nobody wants to go to the same restaurant all the time. And I want to go places. I want to taste different things. If you know only 3 dances, good luck. After a while, you get bored.
2, 1.
Well, if I can, I'll try and tie all this in to give you some kind of idea of how my life has gone and how it's grown. When I was 18, I decided I was going to go into the service. I stole into my parents' bedroom to get my birth certificate. And they were teaching dancing at that time, and they went off at a dance competition that weekend. And I took my birth certificate and I went into the Air Force recruiter. I enlisted, delayed enlistment, wasn't going to go in for 6 months. And my parents didn't know, so one day I was just gone. I left a note with my neighbor saying, please give this to my parents. And they found out I went into the service. I'd been in the service for 6 months. Anyway, I went into the service. And there, the service, it teaches you respect. Respect for others, respect for yourself, respect for whatever you're doing. There's a respect that you get, and something that just builds into people that went into the service. And I was one of those. And I lucked out. I got aerospace physiology. Well, what the hell is that? Well, I got to teach pilots how to do parachute landing falls, ejection seat procedural training. On down the line, I built pressure suits for pilots that went into the TR-1 and the SR-71. For those of you who know those type aircraft, you know what that is. And I trained them how to do good, this is one of the places you edit out. I trained them in, we also did altitude chambers, where we created a vacuum inside a box, and we took out the air, and they would get hypoxic. We represented going to altitude, like 25,000 feet, to show them what it was like not to have oxygen. And a lot of the movies, they show you going, ooh, ooh, no air. That doesn't work that way. When you, at 25,000 feet, you just get happy, and pretty soon you pass out. Well, we took them up in the chamber and showed them this, so that they recognized the symptoms. So if that happened, they lost pressurization in the aircraft, they'd know what was happening to them. And so that's where I started learning how to help people. That's where I was teaching in the classroom, and I developed this urgent need to teach. And I didn't care what I was teaching. I just wanted to teach. Whatever I learned, I wanted to teach. I wanted to help. Then I got out for 4 years because, like I said earlier, my parents needed me. And I went there to run a dance studio, not to teach. But I started learning again. I started learning how to teach, and oh my God, here we go again. I was only going to get out for about 6 months or a year till my parents got better. But it ended up being 4 years. So that's where I got the hunger for dancing again. But I went back into the service, spent 8 more years in it, and 4 years to go till retirement. 4 years. That's all I had. 4 years left. But no, I got a dance partner and we wanted to compete. Oh boy. Anyway, I got out of the service and threw away my retirement. 4 years to go. And as we know now, 4 years doesn't mean anything. But that's what I did. But it was my hunger for dancing, competing, showing. That part of being a teacher is that you were giving something. When you dance in front of people, you're giving something. When you teach people to dance, you're giving something in yourself to them. And they'll carry that on, either in dancing or in their own life, because they'll feel that and they'll help somebody too. I guarantee you, there isn't anybody I haven't taught that didn't go out and do something to help somebody else. And that, in a nutshell, that's my life, you know. It's just helping others and having a great time doing it. Because lawyers can take their business home with them, but their wives won't appreciate it. I can take my dancing home with me, and I got something to share. Okay? And that's my life in a nutshell. I'm going to die on the dance floor. By God, I hope so.
Well, I hear you. So I think I really appreciate that, and thank you so much that spend the time with us and share to our ballroom dance community what you've been through and how you see and how you feel and how you have success and all kind of ups and downs of your dance life. Just the last question: what is your next big things to try to be ready and prepared?
I've been asking myself that for 5 years, you know, and I'm still teaching dancing. I'm still getting ready to go into another competition here in 2 months, you know, and everybody just sort of looked at me, are you tired of competing? And I said, no, I'm going to die on the dance floor. I know it.
Thank you so much.